You know, I want to be perfectly clear about one thing. I am actually a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And while it may be true that he did ruin some things, his political career, his love life, and almost the Batman, let's be honest, he has given us a lot in his Hollywood career. I mean, Predator, Terminator, he's given us a lot. And the fact is, he keeps on giving. Because I have the feeling that after people see The Last Stand, they'll no longer think that X-Men The Last Stand is the worst film with The Last Stand in the title. Wait, that means Ratner wins. Real school. Before seeing The Last Stand, I actually read something online that compared the film to the classic western High Noon. Gary Cooper is rolling over in his grave. In fact, that comparison is so bad that when they die, Bradley Cooper, Chris Cooper, Alice Cooper, hanging with Mr. Cooper, and I love you, Beth Cooper, will probably roll over in their graves too. Oh wait, that last one already died. I'm going to do things a little differently this review. I'm going to show you a list of things that this film really did poorly. And just as an example of what they could have done better, yeah, I will use a couple of older westerns. Remember though, I wasn't the one who made this comparison originally, so they deserve it. First off, it is great to see Arnold Schwarzenegger in his own film, not just a little bit part, in almost a decade. But here's the thing, that decade seems to really be taking its toll on him physically. No, I'm not saying the guy can help it, but I am saying that maybe he's past his prime when it comes to action films. Which brings me to the first major change I would have liked to seen in The Last Stand. A plot? No, but it could have been a little more self-satirical, a little more meta, if you will. I've talked about this film a lot in the past, but when Clint Eastwood made Unforgiven, it was a little self-satirical. It was about an aged cowboy who hung up his spurs, but had to come out of retirement for one last adventure. Sounds like Eastwood. And so far, what's really meta is that has been Eastwood's last western. Art imitates life. Schwarzenegger's buddy Stallone even did it when he made Rocky Balboa. The famous fighter, who had been out of the game for so long, thinks to himself, what if, for one last final fight, and so he makes a comeback. Sounds like Stallone. The Last Stand could have been a more meaningful title, meaning it could have been this old sheriff's last stand against injustice. It could have had, I don't know, subtext. I felt that without that self-satire, The Last Stand was already taking itself too seriously. I will never take the screenwriter of this movie, Andrew Nauer, serious again. And seemingly neither is Hollywood, because dude has only written 2 scripts. And trust me, it shows. The plot holes in this movie were bigger than Arnie has ever been. To sum up, but not to give too much away, a drug kingpin escapes federal custody, steals a show car in an attempt to make it to the Mexican border and cross. If you're wondering why he didn't steal a plane or a helicopter or even buy one, don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, a character in the movie actually asks that. What does the screenwriter do? Well, he creates another kid agent character in the FBI who knows all about this supercar. And he says, "Oh, that car's way faster than a helicopter." Are you kidding? Here's a picture of a typical southern road to Mexico. Here's a flight path. You see the difference? Not to mention, as could be expected, there were roadblocks. So instead, the drug lord hires mercenaries with tons of firepower, giant trucks with plows on them in order to clear the way. So if he could afford all that, why didn't he just buy a helicopter? Another thing they could have done more effectively is to really raise the stakes, to make us care about Arnie's fight. In High Noon, Gary Cooper is supposed to face unbeatable odds, alone, just before he goes on his honeymoon with Grace Kelly. And there are 3 keys that The Last Stand didn't have. Facing unbeatable odds, alone, and he's married. Instead, Schwarzenegger's sheriff is surrounded by idiots, we know he's going to win, and if he gets killed, there's nobody really around who gives a damn. Speaking of idiots, the supporting cast was awful. Forrest Whitaker and Luis Guzman, even as heroes, were so unlikable in this movie. And it wasn't their acting, it was their characters were just bad people. Peter Stormare, who's a pretty good character actor, attempted one of the worst southern accents I've ever heard. Really, Peter? A southern accent? Southern Sweden, maybe. Although his character being southern was about as believable as Arnold Schwarzenegger's character being called Ray Owens. It's actually a well-known fact that there are a lot of Owens in Austria. And don't get me started on Johnny Knoxville being deputized to fight a drug lord. Wait, didn't Knoxville already make that action movie? One tiny bright side was the beautiful Jamie Alexander. She was a nerd's wet dream in Thor. Aside from Natalie Portman, and she was the only one in The Last Stand who didn't drive me crazy. She's no Grace Kelly, but she is the for the win. Obviously I knew going into the theater that The Last Stand was going to be mindless action and entertainment. But it was unoriginal, unfunny, completely unintelligent, and unworthy of your money. Even if you just wanted a mindless action flick, which I did, the action wasn't even that good. So what's left? I'll tell you what's left. It's a burn it. I can't believe I'm going to segue between a Schwarzenegger action flick and this, but Oscar time is coming up. Be sure to stay tuned to Real School because we are going to be tweeting live during the Oscars with a special guest host and maybe even prizes. So like I said, stay tuned. And until then, school's out.